capital using LinkedIn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. You're going to see a lot of visuals, examples. It's going to be a lot of content. So as we get started, let me just click this button right here. And the other thing that I'll say as we get started is, there we go. All right, so we're going to talk about how to raise more capital and find high net worth investors, basically how to raise private money using LinkedIn. Okay, and I know that's an important thing for a lot of you here. So before we get started, let me give you the lay of the land. Let's talk about how to make sure you receive a ton of value from this training, from the content that you're going to receive here in this portion of the meetup. So first and foremost, you want to have a pen and paper ready. You're going to want to take lots of notes. You're going to hear things today that I promise you've never heard before. So taking notes and getting started is going to be really, really important for you. Next thing, you want to close all your other windows. That's just so things stream faster, so you're not having to deal with interruptions and deal with any distractions. So you can pay full attention here for the next 60 minutes or so. Next up, we're going to have a Q&A portion towards the last 15 minutes of my presentation. So if you've got questions throughout, the best way to do it, there's a little Q&A box. Drop those in. We'll get to as many questions as we have time for. And I want you to commit to being here and being present throughout. Bobby's going to be sharing some great things after me. And what I'm really big on, as you'll hear, is education, right? And this is the start for a lot of you of a journey, right? A journey of being able to raise more private money and find high net worth investors beyond your current network. Right? And that's what we're going to be talking about, because what you'll discover today is a new way of raising more capital and finding the investors you're looking for by tapping into my proprietary method of using LinkedIn. It's 90% automated, and you can do it in 20 minutes a day or less. And since you're here, let's make sure you're in the right place. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop my video too. Sometimes I make funny faces when I talk, and then I'll cut back on video here for the 15-minute Q&A portion, right? So let's go ahead and make sure you're in the right place. So here's who this is for, okay? Oops. So this is for you if you know how important it is to have access to and leverage private capital. So if you're a real estate entrepreneur, so this content is going to be highly relevant to you. You know, it could mean that I know some of you here have already done a lot of deals. You've already raised millions of dollars, and you just want to take things to the next level in growing and scaling your portfolio. Or it could mean, like for some of you, you're just getting into real estate investing, haven't done too many deals yet, but you know you're going to need to raise a lot more capital. Or maybe you're somewhere in between, okay? So regardless of where you are in your real estate investing journey, this is going to be highly relevant for you, okay? As a matter of fact, whether you want to raise capital for your multifamily buildings, commercial office investing, self-storage investing, in mobile home parks, fix and flips, long-term rentals, vacation rentals, even real estate or your private equity fund, regardless of what kind of products you want to raise capital for, these strategies are going to be highly relevant. This system is going to apply for you. So as a matter of fact, I'm curious, let me know in the chat box, because we want to make things interactive, what kind of projects you want to raise private money for, right? So whether it's multifamily, maybe you're doing self-storage, mobile home parks, just to drop us a line in the chat box so I can really see, what kind of real estate entrepreneurs are out there and what projects you want to raise money for.
So folks, if you chat it, it'll go to Yakov, Denise, and myself, and we'll kind of announce it over here. So yeah, we're seeing all kinds.
All right, cool.
Family, mobile home parks.
I got a pretty big mix here. Awesome. So yeah, so we have people wanting to raise money for different types of projects, and I know on this meetup we have people who've already raised a good deal of money, and we also have people who are just getting started on their capital raising journey. So regardless of where you are, this is going to give you a head start. It's going to give you a boost in the right direction. Okay. So this is also for you if you're tired of scrambling to raise capital, and instead you want to stop missing out on potential deals, right? Because if you don't have enough capital, you miss out on deals, you miss out on growing your portfolio. Stop worrying about where to find investors beyond your warm network. What a lot of real estate entrepreneurs realized after COVID hit was before you would have to go to conferences and events and network to meet high net worth individuals. Well, that kind of went away last year. So this is going to give you an alternative that you can do from anywhere. Okay, and that's really, really important. And you're going to start to feel like you're in control of finding the types of investors you're looking for and building those key investor relationships. Because let's face it, Not having the ability to attract A-list investors on demand limits your ability to scale and grow, adds a ton of stress, takes away time from your already busy day, and means you virtually have zero control of ever reaching your vision. Remember that vision you had for yourself when you first got into real estate? I want you to think back to what that vision was, okay? Whatever the real reason you got into real estate investing was, whatever it is that you set out to accomplish, you will have no control of getting there unless you can attract investors and raise the capital you need. Okay, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. That's why it's so important. Because when you implement what I'll be sharing, you're going to have the ability to find the investors you want to get in front of, increase your online visibility by 50% or more, grow your investor list using a proven system, and have high net worth investors responding to you, wanting to learn more about investing in your projects. And you're going to be able to book more meetings with qualified investors and grow your list of deal-ready investors for when you have that next deal and you need to close, or if you want to upgrade and grow and scale your portfolio. Okay. So at this point, you may be asking yourself, and Bobby gave me a great introduction. I'm going to hop back on video here as well, because you guys are on video. I figured I'd jump on here as well. So my background, very quickly, I'll give you how I got into working with real estate entrepreneurs, and I'm going to start in bit of an unusual place today. Okay. So this is a picture of me when I got my start on social media. This is not a picture of me now, as you can tell. It's a picture of me about in the 8th grade. Okay. And I got my start on myspace.com. How many of you remember MySpace? Yeah. I was using social media at first, not to market, not to sell stuff, but to hit on girls. Okay. That's where I got my beginnings on social media. And since then, of course, I've come a long way. This is a picture of me when I first started marketing on LinkedIn. I was living in Vegas at the time. I had hair down to my shoulders. And that's when I started working with business owners, first in software and then in other, verticals, showing them a new way of using LinkedIn to generate leads and grow their businesses. And of course, like a lot of you, like I mentioned earlier, I'm big on education. I'm a lifelong learner. When I first got into my business, I did everything I could to come to events like this, seminars, webinars, and learn as much as I could so that I would get where I wanted to faster. And I want to acknowledge you for being here and making that same level of commitment. And a lot of you may have heard I authored the book, Disrupting LinkedIn. This was back in, I think, 2016, before anyone was even talking about using LinkedIn as a marketing platform. And since then, I've personally used some of these strategies to generate multiple 6 figures in revenue and become known as one of the leaders when it comes to the LinkedIn marketing space. And the way that I got into specifically focusing on these strategies when it comes to raising private money and raising capital and finding high net worth investors, I was actually at an in-person event, and I had a couple of gentlemen approach me. They wanted to attract angel investors. They were putting together a deal club where they were going to be connecting founders and angel investors. So they asked me if I thought it was possible to find ultra high net worth individuals on LinkedIn, people who are worth potentially hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars. And I said that I thought it definitely was. And we started working together, and I discovered how powerful LinkedIn could be for reaching these people directly and targeting these ultra high net worth individuals who are interested in finding out more. And that's when I really got my start in the capital raising space. As some of you know, Michael Blanc, he and I did a project together. Here's what he had to say. He's using LinkedIn to find high net worth investors, and you can see what he says about these strategies. So I've been very fortunate. I partnered with a lot of top mentors, top leaders, especially in the multifamily space, but in real estate syndications and real estate investing in general. And what you're going to hear today is a system that there's nothing quite like it out there for finding high net worth investors. And for a lot of you, it's the system that you're going to need to truly grow and scale your portfolio and get to doing the deals that you want to do. So I want to make one thing clear before we go any further. This is not about getting likes and comments. I know there's other gurus out there. There's experts who talk about getting likes and comments on social media. This is about actually raising money and getting results to go to your bottom line. Okay, so you're going to hear a very no BS approach to doing this that actually works on planet Earth. So core business values that I stand for, mentioned a couple of these, good for you to know. Growth, expansion, you want to expand your portfolio. I'm always looking for ways to grow and expand, both my mindset, skill set, and strategies. Personal freedom. One of the reasons you probably got into real estate in the first place was you wanted more freedom, right? And so I'm big on sharing strategies with people that are going to get them there. Okay. The investor mentality, in thinking of time, money, energy as an investment, and always thinking of ROI. And then finally, maximum potential, making the most of every resource available to get to where you want to go. Okay, so let's talk about the new LinkedIn. We have to start with understanding some of the changes to LinkedIn that have made it such a lucrative platform for finding the investors you're looking for. The first change is what we call the next generation of LinkedIn audience. Here's what that means. There's more than 675 million active users on LinkedIn right now. There's more than 130 million accounts here in the US alone. Average household income on LinkedIn is $115,000. That's the average person on LinkedIn is a six-figure earner. Okay, that's just an average. 25 to 35-year-olds, fastest growing age group on LinkedIn right now. And since Microsoft purchased LinkedIn a few years ago for $26.2 billion, they've completely revamped the platform. Where before you had to be tech savvy, it was kind of clunky, it was this resume platform. Now there's an opportunity to build genuine relationships, and people are on LinkedIn to learn, grow, expand their possibilities. They're expanding their user base. Their CEO wants 2.2 billion users by the end of 2022. And business people, like a lot of you probably, are getting tired of Facebook. They're getting tired of the cat videos and the drama and all the noise and all the BS. LinkedIn is a very different kind of social platform, okay? And one of the most powerful things that I'll show you a little bit later today that you can do on LinkedIn is you can build hyper-targeted lists of ultra high net worth individuals. For example, this list right here, you can build it on LinkedIn rather than buying a list from a list broker. You can build this type of list on LinkedIn within a matter of minutes. There's 28,000 plus tech founders just in the state of California. Another list, dentists. I know a lot of you would like dentists to be able to invest in your deals. 14,000 plus owners of just of small dental practices in the US alone, okay? Lawyers, right? Attorneys, just small law practices in the state of Florida, 16,000 plus potential individuals, private investors, when you're looking for passive investors who you can reach directly, okay? So the next surprising change on LinkedIn is the increased exposure of LinkedIn profiles and business pages. And write this down, this is important. Other than your website, your LinkedIn profile right now is going to be the most important thing for your online presence when it comes to building trust with investors. Because even if you haven't logged into LinkedIn for a while, or you haven't logged in even in years, when people go to Google your name, and best believe these days, they're going to Google your name before investing a penny with you, your LinkedIn profile is going to be either the first thing that comes up or one of the first things, right? So it's really important to make that solid first impression. And LinkedIn profiles, they do very well with Google. They do very well. It's a great way of getting free SEO when you optimize it the right way, along with your LinkedIn business page, right? Having a company page is really, really key. Next change, and this is really important, okay? The emergence of LinkedIn video and personality-driven content, where before it used to be more like a resume platform and stuffy and boring. Well, now, as of 2020, conversations on LinkedIn were up by 50%, okay? They were up by 50% in the year of 2020. And right now, I believe we're experiencing the golden age of alternative investing. And here's what that means. You have companies out there like Yield Street and other companies where Yield Street in the last quarter of 2020, almost $2 billion of private capital were placed. And these people didn't have to go and meet anyone in person. They didn't have to shake hands. They didn't have to deal with any of that. So the opportunity to build trust with high net worth investors and get them to say yes to investing in your alternative investment in your deals online, the opportunity right now is bigger than ever. And on LinkedIn, you really have a chance to show your personality, build those relationships, and build that trust, right? So it's really become a platform with a lot more engagement. I think visibility on content is up 5x in the last 12 months on LinkedIn. So people are looking, people are paying more attention, and there's much more interaction, much more conversations happening. So I wanted to do a comparison, right? Because some of you, I know there's some people where you've only met investors in your warm networks or at, different events, at conferences, but some of you have at least dabbled into using social media or using the online world to find high net worth investors. So let's compare, for example, the new LinkedIn with using Facebook to generate investor leads. Facebook, thousands of dollars per month in ad spend. There's this crazy funky algorithm. They have tricky policies on what you can and can't say. And Facebook ads, you're going to get much lower quality investor leads. They might be complete garbage leads. LinkedIn, this system that we're talking about today requires zero additional ad spend. You can create hyper-specific audiences based on your criteria, and you have the potential to build high levels of intimacy and establish yourself as that trusted advisor with the investors you're looking for, as well as generate A-list investor leads. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. You look at SEO, blogging, paying the SEO guy $3,000 a month, and there's a long, ambiguous timeline. Some of you have invested in SEO and seen this, where usually it takes 6 months to get any results. And a lot of it is just based on posting and hoping that someone will find your content and want to learn more about investing with you. Versus LinkedIn, you can have a streamlined process where you can start getting results in 30 days or less. It's just a lot more intentional way of finding the investors you're looking for. Traditional networking, of course, there's a limited number of people you can reach. LinkedIn, there's millions of people. And while networking is time consuming and inconsistent at best, on LinkedIn, this system is 90% automated. You can easily delegate it to an assistant or an admin, and it takes 20 minutes a day or less to manage. So what you're really looking for, I want you to start thinking about this, right? You're not looking for a one-off. You're not looking to maybe one day find an investor on LinkedIn. You're looking for a system that month after month you can use to build investor relationships and raise money for your deals. Okay, that's really the outcome here. So regardless of where you are in your personal capital raising journey, LinkedIn is still a hidden gold mine for finding the investors you're looking for. And when you implement the right strategy, among the best sources for raising more capital and finding those high net worth investors. So now let's talk about the #1 strategy for creating a LinkedIn profile that automatically attracts your ideal investors, okay? And I want you to ask yourself this question. Now we're going to make this interactive. I want to know in the chat box too. Okay, and I'll explain this in a moment. What would my A-list investor think, right? So I want to know in the chat box, you let us know for what the minimum investment requirements. If you're raising private money, first of all, what your ideal investor, maybe what they do for a living, right? So it could be dentist, and maybe the minimum investment you want someone to make is 200K. Okay, so I'll give you a moment. I'm going to grab a sip of water. Let us know in the chat box someone who's an example of an A-list investor for you, someone who has the means and is someone who, probably depending on what they do for a living, would be a good person who can invest private money. So let us know in the chat box. I'm going to go ahead and grab a sip of water here, and we'll read out a couple of the answers. So who is your A-list investor? Okay, so right now these are going out as direct messages. So usually everyone should be able to see them, but I'll read out a couple of these, right? So Daniel says accredited investors, $1 million net worth or higher, right? And I know for most of you, you're going to want accredited investors. So this is perfect for that. We've got successful tech founder, engineers. Someone said, Mr. Grant Cardone. Great answer. So we got medical industry professional, accredited investor, right? So, there's a lot of different, types of individuals, right, who may be ideal investors for you. So when we explore this, we want to think about what would they think? Because the problem is this, and we have to get really real here in understanding how to actually make this work. Because when we talk about finding investors online, they don't trust you. Okay, so let's understand the psychology of your A-list investors, because that's going to allow us to start to think about how to attract those investors on LinkedIn. Okay, so your A-list investors, the investors you're looking for, they're hearing about the next big thing all the time. Everyone's telling them about crypto, cannabis, all these investment opportunities that are quote unquote the next big thing. All right. Everyone seems to want something from them. So when people know that they have money, sometimes they get the vibe that everyone wants something from them, which is annoying. Okay. And they didn't become affluent by being careless with their money. So sometimes, I'll have people come to me and they'll say, oh, why is it, it's not a big deal for someone whose net worth is $50 million to invest 200K in my deal. Well, best believe it is a big deal, because they didn't get to that net worth by being careless with their money, right? So understand they're going to be diligent. They're going to be thoughtful. They're going to want to be educated. And that creates a major opportunity for you. Also understand they've probably been burned before. Someone's probably overpromised and underdelivered before, right? And so rather than ignoring these things, we want to address them heads on in our LinkedIn marketing and LinkedIn strategy. So Here's the plus side of this. The ideal investors you're looking for, your A-list investors, they want to be educated. These high net worth individuals, these accredited investors, there's a natural curiosity to find out what it is that they don't know, okay, and find out what the opportunity is. They want to refer, they want to tell other high net worth colleagues and associates, especially if they're getting good returns, they're investing in a good deal, they trust you, they want to tell other people. These A-list investors are going to be the ones who are going to refer you again and again. It creates that snowball effect. They want more people they can trust. Okay. A lot of them have tight inner circles, but once you're in, and they're going to be investing with you again and again. Those are the kind of investors you're looking for here. And they want alternative investments for higher returns. A lot of them are probably really nervous with the stock market because it constantly goes up and down. Okay. And they want to at least diversify into alternative investments and see what kind of return possibility there is for them. Right. So there's this natural curiosity, and you have the opportunity to really bridge that gap and become that trusted advisor when it comes to passive real estate investing. Okay, so let's talk about the methodology. Let's talk about the system for attracting A-list investors using LinkedIn. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to go through the methodology, and then we're going to take some questions because there's a lot to this. I want you to start to at least see an overview of these strategies. Okay. So the M stands for magnetizing your lists. Okay, so on LinkedIn, like I mentioned earlier, instead of paying a list broker several $1,000s to have access to a list that by the time you get it is usually going to be outdated, right? There's a lot of accredited investors here in the US. They're on LinkedIn versus on LinkedIn. When you build these hyper-targeted lists, you can find thousands of potential investors within a matter of minutes. Also, this list right here is a referral source list as well. So you've got financial planners, investment advisors, those types of folks as well. That's one angle that we talk about when we work with people, okay? So I'll give you some examples of lists you can build, right? I want you to think about who an ideal investor is for you, because you best believe you can target and find that person on LinkedIn. So these are CEOs of companies under 5,000 employees. This is just the state of Arizona alone where I live. 1,000 plus direct decision makers who you can reach directly using LinkedIn, okay? Angel investors. So this is just in the US alone. These are private angel investors across the US, 7,000 plus who you can find and reach directly using the hyper targeting on LinkedIn. So when we talk about list building on LinkedIn, there's 5 ways to do it. Okay, there's 5 ways to build list on LinkedIn, and we'll talk about what X factor list building means in a moment. But I want you to think about these, right? Because it's probably different than what you've experienced or what you've heard before. The first one is, you've got the free search. So you can put in a basic term in the free search. LinkedIn will give you a bunch of people, but it won't be as targeted as you're going to need it to be. Okay. The second way is you can search by groups. Okay. So you can search for people by different interest affinities or different groups that they're in. Okay. Third way is through the LinkedIn advertising platform, okay, which I don't recommend because these strategies are organic where you won't need to spend a penny on ads, but advertising gives you some different targeting criteria. Fourth way is going to be your LinkedIn importing a file. So let's say you've bought a list, let's say you've got an email list or a database of investors already, you can import those people into LinkedIn and then see some of their contacts and continue to snowball that way, okay? And the fifth way is using the LinkedIn Sales Navigator, okay, which is one of the most powerful ways to do it, where you can start to achieve some of the specificity here, because the more targeted you are, the easier it's going to be. And as a matter of fact, one of the big mistakes that I see people making is they get obsessed with the messaging. And don't get me wrong, messaging is really important. But if your targeting is off, or if it isn't as precise as it needs to be, you're not going to get the kind of response rate that you could be getting. So when we target potential investors on LinkedIn, okay, we have to look at ideal net worth range, right? So, based on people's occupations, based on people's locations, that ideal net worth range, right? So if someone's been the CEO of a company with 10,000 employees for the past 20 years, they're probably in the accredited investor range, right? Especially if they're living like in New York or LA, for example. Right? Ideal income range and ideal mindset. A lot of people forget this one, but not only do you want to target high net worth individuals on LinkedIn, it's easier when there's already an interest in real estate or when there's already an interest in alternative investing, right? In this sweet spot, these are the list of prospective investors that you're able to build using LinkedIn. So the next part, and this part is really where the magic happens, is accelerating trust using your messaging, okay? So there's three types of messaging on LinkedIn for accelerating trust with the ideal investors you're looking for. There's your LinkedIn profile messaging, there's your LinkedIn content messaging, and then there's direct messaging. Okay, I'll give you an overview of all three here. So messaging for your LinkedIn profile, the right profile messaging, it gives you a strong first impression. You've heard the expression, you only get one time to make a first impression, especially true on LinkedIn, okay? It gives you an increase in visibility, not only on LinkedIn, but like we talked about with SEO, search engine optimization online. Okay, gives you social proof. Okay, it's one thing when you're saying good things about yourself, but you can position your profile and use testimonials and use what other good things people have said. And it gives you instant authority. Okay, when you do this right, it positions you as the subject matter expert, as that trusted advisor, rather than someone who just wants their money, right? Okay, so common blunders to avoid. We could spend probably 5 hours talking about LinkedIn profiles today. I want to give you an overview because these are the big mistakes I see real estate entrepreneurs making. The first one is the corporate resume, right? So if your profile sounds super fancy, maybe you've even paid a writer to, write a profile for you, and it sounds like a resume, you're doing it wrong, right? Because the investors don't care about your resume until they know what's in it for them, right? So that corporate resume piece is not what you're looking for. Okay. In fact, your profile is there to build trust and it's there to grab attention first. When you have the corporate resume, it's much more difficult to get attention because they don't care about you until they know what's in it for them, until they know why they should care. Second piece, second big mistake that I see is the wide-eyed squirrel. Okay. And what that means, sometimes we have real estate entrepreneurs who maybe they've got a couple businesses, or maybe they're still doing their day job, and they've got 15 different things listed on their LinkedIn profile, and they're all over the place. They're super scattered. So rather than, when you do that, or if you do that, your ideal investor, they're going to look at that and go next, and they're going to be turned off because you're not focused. And how can they trust you if you're doing 15 different projects, right? It's the whole jack of all trades, master of none. And the third one is the 90s marketing brochure. Okay, this is where we have people who, and I know a lot of you love real estate and you talk about, different lingo, different keywords, right? Cap rates and stuff like that, and you start getting into the nitty gritty and the details of the specific deals, right? And, making it sound like a pitch for your investments. And when it sounds like that, again, you're going to turn people off and it doesn't quite establish the credibility that you're looking for. Okay. So what do we do instead? What are the key sections to making your LinkedIn profile what I call irresistible and attractive to the investors you're looking for? You've got your LinkedIn headline, and that headline follows you around everywhere. And it's the first thing potential investors see, right? So it's the first great tool you've got for getting attention. We can talk more about profiles in the Q&A too, because there's, like I said, we could talk about these for a while. There's your pictures on LinkedIn. Okay. So having a cover photo and having a picture that has good lighting so people can actually see you. Your about section. Now, here's one strategy that I want you to think about right now. And this is something that, just puts you in a whole market of one, right? So rather than talk about the features and benefits of investing with you in your about section of your LinkedIn profile, what I want you to think about doing right now is flipping the script, okay? What if you can anticipate the conversation happening in that potential investor's mind, right? So maybe they've heard that real estate is a great investment opportunity, but they don't quite know how passive real estate investing works. Or maybe they think that they need to have $10 million to be a passive investor. Or maybe they don't even know that passive investing exists. Or maybe they don't know why real estate's better than the stock market, right? These are all really good things to lead with in your LinkedIn profile, because when you can anticipate their questions, when you can anticipate even some of their objections that they might have right out of the get-go, it instantly sets you apart, and you immediately start to position yourself as that expert, as someone who gets them, right? And when people feel understood, they're going to want to know more. They're going to want to take action, okay? And you have your experience section, again, highlighting, showcasing your experiences and your authority there. Now, one question we get asked a lot, and we could say this for the Q&A, but I'll anticipate this one because I get these quite often, is for those of you who are still working in another business, or you still got your W-2 job, you may be asking yourself, well, what do I do, right? So first and foremost, it varies by employer. Okay, some employers, they're going to be totally okay with you, showcasing your real estate experience, showcasing your real estate projects on LinkedIn. If not, what you can do, you can either make a separate profile, okay, set your profile to private, or there's different ways through direct messaging where you don't have to showcase it on your profile, but you can still build those key investor relationships, okay? And then another question that we sometimes get asked is, okay, Yaakov, well, I don't have 35 years of experience doing syndications. I'm just getting started. How do I establish authority and credibility? And it varies on a case-by-case basis. That's why, later on, I'll be inviting you to a discovery call where we can talk some more about your specific situation. For now, though, understand that even if you've only been doing real estate for a few months, let's say you come from a software engineering background. Well, how do you start to differentiate yourself? Guess what? The software engineering gives you a different perspective. Okay. You've got a different way, different outlook on real estate and outlook on deals. And that's something that when you take your positioning, you position yourself as that authority, as someone who they can trust, you immediately start to set yourself apart. And you don't have to worry about competition or getting lost in the noise. That's a really important concept I want you to think about. And then the featured content section. So remember, your profile is the core foundation for attracting the investors you want on LinkedIn. Okay. Next piece, the messaging for your content. So just like Facebook, just like other social media, you have the opportunity to post content on LinkedIn. Remember though, it's not about posting and hoping. Okay. This is what a lot of people do. They post and they pray. Okay. So we're not talking about posting content and hoping that an investor will see it and want to invest money with you, okay? Instead, we're talking about smart posting instead of hard posting, okay? I know there's gurus out there who talk about posting 5 times a day. That's complete BS, okay? As a matter of fact, if you don't want to post at all, you can still attract investors on LinkedIn, okay? There's different strategies, different ways to do this. Posting is a way to supplement some of your other lead generation on LinkedIn, okay? It needs to be congruent. If you are posting, it needs to be congruent with what your potential investors actually care about, okay? Not just, random stuff in the feed. And there's an algorithm, there's an order, and we could spend a while talking about this too, of, what posts LinkedIn prioritizes. So just because you have 1,000 people who you're connected to on LinkedIn, that doesn't necessarily mean that all of them are going to see your post. And you can have 10 people see your post, depending on how strategic you are, depending on what you post and that type of thing. Okay. So let's move on and talk about your LinkedIn Messenger funnel. Okay. And this is really the most important and powerful process for turbocharging your results. So whether you're reactivating your current network, okay, or starting to make new contacts on LinkedIn who might be potential investors for you, please, at all costs, avoid the vomit message, okay? This isn't about spamming people. It's not about, coming out of the gate and pitching people and say, hey, you don't know me, I don't know you, but I've got a deal. It's amazing. You want to invest 150K right now. First of all, that's illegal for most deal structures, so please don't do that, okay? Instead, what we're talking about is multiple steps. We're talking about getting attention and building value first, okay? We're talking about a message. Imagine this, a direct message is delivered directly to the decision maker, to that high net worth individual who has the capital and oftentimes already the preliminary interest in alternative investments, okay, when you get your targeting right. And the great thing is there's automation tools, there's automation software where you can automate this process without having it look automated, right? So think about it like good plastic surgery, okay? How do you know when plastic surgery is done well? Well, you can't tell that someone had plastic surgery done, right? If you send a message that's automated, someone can tell that it's automated, you're doing it wrong, okay? So you don't want to do that. And you have leading messages, okay? So you have messages to get someone to raise their hand and want to know more and start asking you questions and basically start the conversation. And you have responsive messages for then transitioning those relationships beyond LinkedIn, okay, to get that person to invest with you. So here's a diagram, here's a visual. I'll walk you through how this works, how this needs to work for you, okay? So first and foremost, you build the targeted list, okay? So it's the right person, they get the right connection request, they get the right hook messaging, okay, the right direct messaging that gets them to raise their hand and want to know more, okay, where they start engaging with you. They book a meeting, okay, You have the meeting. They're then invited to join your investor list. They join your investor list, and now they have opportunities to invest with you and however you structure your deals. Okay. And the key thing about this is when you do it this way, it's SEC compliant. Okay. Because you're building the relationship first. Okay. And even if you're doing a 506C, I still don't recommend cold soliciting people to just invest in your deals because there's no trust. Okay. Instead, we're talking about a streamlined process for building the relationship and getting people to self-select, getting people to say, you know what, this is something I'm interested in. Yeah, I've thought about investing in real estate. I can invest passively. Okay, what you got? Okay, let's see if I like you, right? So you want to give people that opportunity, that invitation, and take those relationships beyond LinkedIn. So this is when we work with people, this is the system that we work on building. Okay. For example, Jack, one of our clients, he did his first reactivation campaign using one of these strategies. He had 11 meetings booked with potential investors. That was his first time reaching people on LinkedIn using the kind of messaging that we talk about. Okay. So the next piece is delegating. And I know we're starting to run short on time, so we'll get into questions here in a few minutes as well, because I want to make sure we have plenty of time for that. Delegating your developed system. So remember earlier when we talked about thinking of this as a system that you're developing for raising private money and finding investors. Okay. So you need to have leading and responsive messenger funnels. So the way to do it is to have your messaging in a document and then use the automation software. Okay. Your most important metrics and how to track them, right? So this is something that needs to be based on numbers, knowing what your numbers are and knowing how to make, quote unquote, the machine work based on these numbers. Okay. And if when transitions, one of the sticking points that people sometimes have is how do you take someone who's a lead, who's interested in finding out more about your deals or investing with you beyond LinkedIn into a conversation, into a meeting, and doing that smoothly is really, really key. And then a rinse and repeat playbook. Think of it as having an instruction manual that you can effectively hand off to a VA or an assistant or even an intern or an admin person. Okay. So for delegating this, I want to go ahead. I want to save you a lot of money right now. Okay. So here's how to save yourself from losing potentially tens of thousands of dollars, right? And here's what it is, right? Because some people will think of this and they'll say, okay, it's a lot of a setup. There's a big learning curve. Could I just outsource this? Right. So here's the pitfalls of outsourcing to a quote unquote agency. And I know that business very well. So I want to make sure that you avoid the headaches, right? So if you start to outsource marketing, especially lead generation to an agency, you're going to be paying higher fees to cover their overhead. So usually at a minimum, you're spending $2,000 to $5,000 a month, right? Out of the gate. You're going to be put into a box at a one size fits all model because that's just the way they do business. Otherwise, they can't run the business effectively, right? That's just the nature of the beast. Your big picture strategy, if you try to outsource this to an agency, it goes neglected, okay? Because most of them, they're not familiar with the real estate investing space. They're not familiar with investor marketing. So they'll say, okay, I'm going to recommend the same strategy for that person as the software company, completely different when it comes to raising money, right? So they're going to put you into the one size fits all box. And if you outsource this and the system isn't done well, your messaging isn't right, you risk damaging your brand and your reputation, okay? And that's something you can never get back. So basically, and I've heard a lot of horror stories here of people who try to outsource investor lead generation and they've wasted a lot of time and money and gotten off to a false start, okay? So make sure that you don't do that. That's not the way to go about this. Instead, what you want to do is delegate. And when we work with people, this is really what we partner with them on doing, okay? Strategically delegating instead of outsourcing. So when you strategically delegate, you avoid all the risks and issues that come with outsourcing to an agency. You save yourself a lot of time and money. Your big picture strategy and vision are front and center, okay? So you have control, you protect your brand and your reputation, and you reap all the benefits of having this duplicatable, scalable system for raising private money and finding investors beyond your current network, okay, that you can use again and again. Because when this is done right, when this is set up the right way, and when we work with people, we actually do the entire setup for them and the messaging and all the automation, all those things for them. Because that way, once this is set up the right way, you have a system where month after month, you're generating investor leads because you're constantly, and Bobby will tell you, you want to constantly be building your list of deal-ready investors. And one of the things, speaking of which, right, one question that I get asked sometimes, I'm sure Bobby gets asked this question too, is, well, when should I start looking for investors? When should I start building my investor list? And I would say immediately, because even if you don't have a deal coming up tomorrow or, in the next couple of weeks, you want those people, you want to have access to the money before you have the deal, right? Otherwise, you're going to be scrambling to raise that money and you might miss the deal. So that investor list is such a valuable resource, something you absolutely need to have for growing and scaling. And no matter where you are in your journey, this is a process that you need to start right away so you can start finding the investors that you're looking for. Final piece of the puzzle here, like Dave, for example, 15 deal ready investors within a month of getting this ramped up, he added those to his list, right? So the possibilities, like we talked about, there's potentially tens of thousands, if not millions of potential investors on LinkedIn who you can access, right? So you want to take your investor relationships beyond LinkedIn, like we talked about. You want to be able to integrate with your backend, right? For those of you who have CRMs and those systems in place, there's some seamless ways to do that. And you activate the snowball effect. Where think about this, right? If let's say you get one investor in the next, let's say 30 days from using some of these systems, and that investor then goes on to invest with you 2, 3, 4, 5 times over the course of the next few years, and then they're getting good returns, they're happy, they're going to tell other people, right? Your investor list, as Bobby will tell you, it starts to snowball. So you have word of mouth working in your favor. This is a way to turbocharge that. This is a way to lay that foundation, especially if you don't already know a lot of people who are ultra high net worth individuals or who have invested with you. So before we get into the Q&A, I want to leave you with that. And for those of you who want to know more, here's the easiest next step for you. Go over this really quickly with you. What you want to do is you want to go ahead and apply for your discovery call. So for those of you who want to know more, I'll give you the link in a second. Here's what we'll do. And this call is going to be with me, not anyone on my team. It's going to be you and I. We'll get on the phone and we'll start to dial in your specific vision for finding more investors on LinkedIn so we can understand where you want to get to and what the opportunity is going to be for you. Okay. We're also going to identify any roadblocks that may be standing in your way, any areas that you're going to need to improve. Could be your profile, messaging, overall strategy, system setup. We'll identify that and how to start overcoming those immediately. And we'll come up with your personalized next steps, the next best things for you to do to start using this system to raise private money and build your list of deal-ready investors. So what you're going to do to go ahead and you want to go ahead and book this call right now before the meetup ends, because these spots, as you'll see, there's a limited number and it's first come, first serve. I don't want you waiting 2 weeks to talk to me. So instead of doing that, go to linkleads.us/Bobby, and I'll show you where that takes you here in a moment. So if you go to linkleads.us/Bobby, it'll redirect you over to this little form right here. So what you'll do is you'll go here, it'll load, and then go ahead. This is so we can learn a little bit more about you and your capital raising goals. Fill in this form. I highly recommend going ahead and doing this right now so you get the best available slot for you based on your time zone. Go ahead, fill in this form, and then when you click the little submit button, what'll happen is it'll give you a link to my calendar and you'll be able to book your spot. Okay, so that's what to do right now. linkleads.us/Bobby. Go ahead, book your discovery call before the meetup is over so you get a good slot for your schedule. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen here. Let's see. Minimize. There we go. And then let's take some Q&A. Let's spend some time, talking about specific questions that people may have. And Bobby, I'm going to turn it over to you here in a second, and we'll drop that URL in the chat box as well, so people can see.
All right, everybody. Look, I know you got questions. So if you're curious, you want some clarity, just unmute yourself, or you can also chat in the chat box, or just unmute yourself and ask away. Anybody? All right. Jonathan. Okay, go ahead, Daniel. Go ahead, Daniel.
When you say hyper targeting lists, I know that you mentioned different, let's say, I'm sorry, I kind of veered off, but when you say hyper targeted lists, what do you mean by that? Like,
so using filters, using criteria, identifying an angle, right? Okay. So for example, who's someone, if for the projects that you're raising money for, what's the minimum investment you're looking for?
I need an accredited investor.
You need an accredited investor. Okay, cool. So, let's just say dentist, for example, right? We'll go broad. May not be the best one for you, but we'll go broad for now. So you could use hyper-targeted lists. And now not only do you have a list of dentists that you can target directly, but maybe you can have dentists who have an interest in real estate or an interest in alternative investing, or maybe they live in your area, right? So that's when you can get really focused. The more focused you are, the better responses you're going to get.
Thank you.
Great question.
And there's so many filters, there's so many fine tuning that you have to do. And that's what Yakov has been doing for so many years. He's got it nailed down, and especially for real estate people. So we have one question from Jonathan. Jonathan is asking, can you specify what you mean by a messaging strategy?
So there's three areas where you need to have a messaging strategy. Okay, the first area is your profile, right? So the messaging, remember, messaging equals trust, right? So the challenge that people face, right? Because conceptually we know, okay, if I have a list of investors and I reach them, ideally they should want to invest. But the problem is they don't know you from Tom. Right? They don't know you from Tom. Everyone's trying to sell them stuff. Okay. So the messaging is the tool, is the differentiation for building trust, so that you get them to care and get them to start to trust you and see you as an authority. Okay. So that's going to be a really, really important thing for you, right? So the messaging on your profile, okay, in a way that it's easy to read, easy to take in a way where they start to trust you. Okay. Messaging in your content. So if you're going to be creating content and posting, again, that it builds your trust, it builds your credibility, builds your authority. And then most importantly, if there is a direct message or in your multi-step messaging, that message gets them to say, okay, this is for me. I want to find out more. Okay. I'm curious about this, right? This seems intriguing. Let's talk. Right. So that's the key. That's really the thing that I think is a big challenge for a lot of people, because, in real estate, you're probably not a wordsmith, you're not a marketer. And that's why, when we work with people, one of the things that we do is we actually put together that messaging with them, right? Designed on, their unique differentiation and, what makes them someone who stands out, why people should trust them. Because it's a little different for everyone, right? And it also depends on the type of investor you're looking for, what projects you're doing. There's a lot of different variables for the messaging.
Excellent. Anybody else? How many of you would like an audit of your LinkedIn profile? Yeah, there you go, Daniel. Like, I think everybody should go back, and it is different. It is more professional. You want to establish trust. You want to establish, that you're credible, but not come across as, overhyping yourself. You just want to come across as authentic. So
yeah, and it's all about making people feel seen and understood, and what's in it for them, right? Because if they don't see value, if they don't see relevance to them, it doesn't matter that you went to Harvard, right? It doesn't matter that you've been in the business for 30 years, right? Whatever the case may be. So that's really the key thing there. And that profile, there's so many different elements to it as well. And you want to think of it like taking someone through a journey, right? Because they're going to start, the starting line is they don't know you from Tom. They may not know what passive real estate investing is. Okay. They may not know what the difference between multifamily and self-storage is. They may not know what a syndication is. They may not know, what the difference between a real estate fund and a REIT is, right? So, these are all great opportunities for you to educate people. That's what it comes down to.
I got a question for you.
Go for it.
Would we be able to see your LinkedIn profile just so we can kind of see what a good one would be? Because being that I've gotten a lot from this information, I need to work on my profile, but to see an example of one, it'd be great. Would you mind sharing that with us?
I'm happy to share that. I'm easy to find on LinkedIn, but I want to preface that with something really important, right? Because if you go to my LinkedIn profile and you say, okay, I'm gonna try to do something with this, copy and paste it, right? Whatever the case may be. The problem with that is it's not original to you, and it's not going to be nearly as authentic, because my profile right now is geared towards my core businesses, right? Which is this business right here, and then some other things that we do with our other entrepreneurs. So, for raising capital, I could show you some different clients' profiles too. And again, the mistake would be, oh, hey, let me just copy and paste what they have and, tweak it a little. And it's not going to quite work as well for you because it's not you. So like, instead of doing that, let's talk about, Jonathan, like in your case, I'll ask you a couple questions and, how about we come up with some specific wording that you can start with. So,
Sure.
In your case, what projects are you raising money for?
Right now I'm trying to do small balance multifamily loans in Los Angeles. Probably the 5 to 10 unit space. We're looking anywhere from 1.5 to 3 million, depending on the projects that come across my desk.
Okay, cool. And who's an ideal investor for you?
My ideal investor is someone who has a few properties, knows a thing or two about investing, but they want to just have some mailbox money, passive income on the side. And so I'm primarily looking for those limited partner clients, because the high net worth people, I think, are this is a bit too small beans for them. So I kind of want to find that middle ground investor.
So I love that because that's a differentiation. You're being really specific and you understand what opportunity is going to be for who. Okay, so those folks that we're talking about, you can target them on LinkedIn. Absolutely. The real estate investors, maybe they're a landlord, they've got a couple of properties or, some different things, right? And so on your profile, what's the first value proposition? You mentioned mailbox money, you mentioned passive investing, right? So it's, I think what you're starting with is, and on your profile, I would speak to that person directly. Are you someone who you've invested in real estate before, but are curious about passive real estate investing, where you could make passive income from real estate without having to deal with the management or the headaches or, any of the stuff that they've probably been dealing with, right? And, and also understanding the why behind it, right? So you can talk about, some of the key challenges they may be running into with their active investments, right? And why being a limited partner might be a good 1-2 punch, or maybe, down the line, they want to only be a limited partner, right? So, these are good things. You can talk about some questions that they may have, right? Because there's a reason why they haven't done the type of passive investing that you're offering. So, having a couple of those FAQs on there is a great thing to have as well, right? So those are some things to start with. And, as far as your personal background, what was your experience before doing this, like in terms of professional experience?
I'm a mortgage broker, and
Okay, cool.
I also purchased and renovated a 4-unit house hack. So we did down to studs renovations. We saw the value add to it, but it was just a lot of work. Our numbers were off, being it was one of our first properties, so it was a great learning experience.
Yeah.
But where I'm seeing it is that in this market, the smaller units, meaning 4 units or below, there's the margins aren't there. You really need more. You need a larger portfolio to have that happen. And the 5 to 10 unit space is a good little middle ground if you find the deals.
Cool. Yeah, so you're obviously a numbers guy, right? So I would definitely position yourself that way on your profile too, because the type of investor you're looking for is also a numbers guy. So that should get you started out of the gate. And I mean, a big part of it, like the old 80-20 rule in your case, is going to be the targeting, pinpointing those people who, are the right people for you. And then the profile, another way to think about it is think of it like a magnet, right? Magnets attract and they repel. So, specifically speaking to that person on your profile, you do that, you're going to be on the right track.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that advice. That's very helpful.
You're welcome.
Stuff, Jonathan. And by the way, I invite for the folks who are on LinkedIn, go to my profile and add me and tell me if it's good or bad or ugly. But happy to share with you my profile. So and Yakov, if you hate the colors, let me know. But so what I've done is I've got my my licenses here, so people know that I'm real, and I've got a message about what I'm trying to build. But yeah, that's it. That's but please feel free to give me some critique.
Yeah, scroll down a little, Bobby, because that's Bobby's headline. Okay, so the about section. So this is where your biggest missing piece. Your headline is fine, it looks nice, but this right here reads like a resume. If you want to raise money, which I know is one of the things that you want to do, is again, you've got helping real estate investors find quality cash flow properties. Okay, that's a little bit of what's in it for me as a real estate investor, but all these different things, I really, and it doesn't catch my attention right away. A real estate community organizer, okay, what does that mean, right? So it needs to be more specific, and I would just really have it flow towards that person that you're looking for, because the specialties, for me to do a deal with you, I don't care that you know a little bit about marketing automation. It's like a nice cherry on top, but that's such valuable real estate to put in there.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah. So.
All right. But folks, you should, yeah, go ahead. All right, somebody added me, so send me a chat. But go ahead and add me to your LinkedIn profile, and I'll try to work on my profile. But Yakov, that's a great point. So good. Anybody else? I think there were a couple of more questions. Let's see here. Oh, yeah.
I was going to ask if you have, obviously you were saying that a lot of these investors online are getting spammed by people who are asking them for money. What are your thoughts on using or finding these investors online and using a direct mail campaign, whether it's sending your investment packet of what you've accomplished in your real estate portfolio directly to these people through snail mail and getting a response that way?
So in theory, it's a good idea, right? So I'll give you a couple ways to think about that, because it could work. However, the very first thing that you said about your accomplishments, because if you send someone direct mail, that's a media where you've got, just like LinkedIn, you've got a split second, and it can get very expensive very quickly. And they don't care about your accomplishments because they don't know you from anyone, right? If it looks like someone's promoting something, guess where that's getting thrown in? The trash can, right? So unless you've had success with direct mail, and if you have, I'm not a direct mail expert, and sometimes things are worth trying. But when you do online, the great thing about it is you cut through the noise. You don't have to spend the money and deal with the headaches of doing the direct mail. And what I've had some clients do is supplementing, they've already done direct mail before LinkedIn, and then supplementing that with LinkedIn, and that tends to work really, really well. So there's a place for it, but you want to think about LinkedIn as like the online version of direct mail, which is really kind of an interesting way to think about it, right? Because this is a social media, but it's a way to reach someone directly. And rather than, if I message you on LinkedIn, or you message me, wanting to raise money, if you start telling me, hey, my name is Danielle, and here I'm amazing because of these 15 things, I don't care. I'm already lost, and oh, this person's annoying me. So you've got a split second to hook someone's attention, right, and get them to want to know more. So certainly if you're doing direct mail already, might be a good kind of tandem. But just because, and here's the other thing, right? Just because people are doing it badly, just because people are sending spammy messages, or, not going about it the right way, the cool thing is when you do something different, when you do it in a way that actually works, it's going to be so damn refreshing, right? And that's really where the opportunity is. Just because a lot of people are doing something poorly, hey, it opens the door for you. You come right in and, really set yourself apart immediately and build that trust, which is really cool.
Awesome. Thank you.
Very true. We have a question from Gala. I would totally want to separate LinkedIn profile from current business to remain private. Would that have an impact? You said you can create a new profile. So basically two personas of the same entity.
Yeah, you can create a new profile. I mean, sometimes that makes sense. Sometimes it makes sense to blend them. It just depends on, your other business and how you're using it. So, but yeah, you definitely can. And there's, I had a client a long time ago, he used his middle name as his last name for his second profile because he had two different businesses, and he didn't want conflict of interest. So there's absolutely an opportunity. And the cool thing is if you build it from scratch the right way, now you've got something, like think of it like having a machine, right? You build the machine, get it set up, and then you've got something cranking that you can use to find investors and access private money.
Yeah, perfect. All
Yoko,
right.
I might have a question actually for you. So I have like almost 5,000 plus connections, and I'm an engineer. I work with companies like Microsoft, Adobe, all these big companies, tech companies. I'm currently working with a healthcare company like Gilead Science, and I meet with all these big CEOs and CTOs in the conferences. So I have like all these connections are on my LinkedIn profile. So how do I approach them? I want to like raise the money. So what would be the idea? Like, should I create a new profile or should I?
No, don't create a new profile because you've got the gold, man. You've got 5,000 or so high net worth individuals. The problem is they don't know that what they don't know. They don't know that there's an opportunity to invest with you, right? And
Yeah, they think me
so,
like in a security, like, engineer or something like lead, architect like that.
yeah. So you've got to educate them, right? So I had a client, for example, he was a full-time sales engineer, and he had knew a lot of people in Canada, and we do something called reactivation, right? So it's creating a series of messages and usually the best way to do is to share a piece of content first, and then explain the new project and give them an opportunity to find out more. Not like, hey, if you want to invest in this deal, it's more like, hey, here's a little bit of information, and then here's another piece. And by the way, here's how you can find out more, right? And then book a meeting and educate them, basically. So the opportunity is there. You just need a little bit of a warm up,
Oh,
right?
okay.
And having the right education in front of them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I meet them personally on the conferences, right? So that's why I'm thinking, how do I approach them? What would be
Yeah.
the best, way to get, most of it?
Yeah, that's important. But yeah, I think it's a great opportunity. Don't create a new profile. You've got almost all the context you need. It's just, yeah, putting together the right messaging.
All right, thanks.
Yeah. All right. Beautiful. All right, we have. I'm going to do thank you, Yakov. And if you got time, stick around. I'm sure people will have more questions later on. But I wanted to share something that I've been working on for several months, and we're getting ready to kind of showcase what we have developed. But there's two projects that I've been working on. But this one's new and interesting. So let me share with you a little presentation. Let's see here, desktop one. But Yakov, if you have to run, no problem. But if you don't, we'd love to have you stick around. Anyway, so I think most of you know I do a lot of private money lending. And one of the things that happens in the Bay Area especially is if you do a loan and it's 600,000 or 700,000 is kind of the starter loan in the Bay Area. So what happens is you write those checks, and then thank you. Yes, thank you, Young. Oh yeah, perfect. So what happens is people run out of money, and so what we've developed is what's called a fractional ownership of a private money loan. So I'm going to do a quick presentation, and maybe I'll get a chance to give you a quick demo as well. Some legal stuff. This is not a solicitation or anything, and only accredited investors can invest in this anyway. So you have to be an accredited investor, but the borrower does not have to be accredited. So we have built this platform for both the borrower and the investor. So it's called the Better Capital Real Estate Fund. And what we do is we allow people to build custom portfolios on the platform for their assets. It's me and my friend Max. I was telling somebody earlier today, 7 years ago, I met Max in San Leandro at my meetup. We happened to be sitting next to each other before the event. We had some time to kill. There was a group of people outside at the Englanders. For some of you that have been with me for a long time, you'll probably remember the Englander in San Leandro. But anyway, 7 years ago, we started chatting, and then we did a deal together soon after that meetup. So you talk about, LinkedIn is a great source for finding your investors, but you can also find them at meetups and just building authentic relationships. Go ahead. Sorry. Anyway, so let me see here. So Max and I started doing deals together, and 7 years later, we're still doing deals together. We've done dozens and dozens of deals, too many to remember, but we now have come together as part of Better Capital Real Estate Fund. But what we do is we take that, let's say you have some capital sitting around, and it's, you know, the loan that people are asking you to invest in is maybe $100,000 minimum or $500,000 minimum, but you got 30, 40, 50,000 sitting around. What you can do is come to this platform, find the investment opportunities, and basically invest with us. All right. So Max and I have already invested our funds into the loan. Then what we do is we put the loan on the Bayflip platform, and then other people can come in and take little chunks of that loan, and it's all done automatically. It's all done through the web, and that's kind of how we structure it. Here are some benefits of doing this. We vet the borrowers, so because we're putting our own money to work, we make sure, and actually we do a much more thorough job because we got investors as well. But you know, we do the due diligence, we source the deals, we do all the paperwork, and the investor can just simply come in and they can park their money into these various private money loans, and then eventually we'll have syndications on the platform as well. But you can take some money and kind of you know, put it in different loans, you know, and you don't have to meet their minimum. So their minimum is often, let's say, $100,000 or $50,000. But let's say you only got $10,000, no problem. You can put that $10,000 to work, and I'll explain this in a little bit more detail shortly. So here's kind of what your portfolio would look like. You could be invested in multiple places, multiple loans. You could do syndication deals. Right now, we just have debt on our platform, but we're going to add equity deals down the road. Here's kind of the fee structure. One more aspect of this. At the end of the day, I just did my taxes yesterday. I mean, just trying to barely squeeze in by the midnight deadline. But my accountant's asking me, where's your K1? Where's your 1099? Where's this? And with our fund, you only get one single K1. All right. Regardless of how many loans you've done, regardless of how many investments you've done on the platform, you'll only get one K1 as an investor. It's a relatively simple onboarding process. We do need for you to, there has to be an accreditation letter. I can dive into that later, but this is kind of what we're competing against. This is, I just pulled this today right before the event. This is what you would make if you parked your money in Marcus with Goldman Sachs. This is what you'd be making. All right, 0.55%. Ours are anywhere between 8 3/4 to 9.5, but the 8 3/4 to 9.5 is usually the sweet spot that we're in. But that's kind of what we are working with. So if you got money sitting in a checking account, some sort of a self-directed IRA account, not doing anything, you can park that with us. It'll be for the duration of that particular loan. So if the loan has 4 months left on it, you can collect the interest and you start collecting the interest the day you wire the money. And then when that property closes, and they're all first position liens, we don't do any seconds or anything like that, all first position liens. We vet the borrower, we vet the property, we do all the due diligence, and then you would get your money on that loan when that property sells. So anyway, I just wanted to do that quick demo. Let me show you one more little thing here. Give me a second. I want to open up my website here just to give you a quick, oh, sorry. All right, so this is our website, bayflip.com, and you can learn more, if you have time. But basically, what'll happen is when you click on login, it'll take you to this page, and let me see. Sometimes it takes a while to load, but if you come here, you can see, and again, this is meant for both borrowers and investors. So if you are looking for capital for your fix and flip or your syndication, reach out to us. But primarily, we're focused right now on fix and flips. Come in here. I'm just going to log in here, and you would come to this sort of a landing page. And right now, we just have 2 deals on the platform. Let me see here. It takes a while sometimes to load, but anyway, yeah, there we go. They popped up. This is a commercial property, 35% LTV. This is at around 65% LTV in Bolinas, and this is in Richmond. So this is basically, you'd click here, you'd sign up and show interest and all that. And basically at that point, I'll probably reach out to you one-on-one if you're, as long as you're an accredited investor. But anyway, so this is kind of my latest project that I've been working on. It is tied into bettercapital.us because all your distributions will also be visible inside bettercapital.us. So you can track all your properties inside bettercapital.us as well. So fully integrated, and but this is to make sure that the money that's sitting in Wells Fargo or Chase or Citi or Bank of America and collecting dust, we can help you make the deals, make the money work a little bit harder. So anyway, with that, if you have any questions, we will. Yes, we do work with self-directed IRAs. Yes, sorry, Daniel, maybe a little different. I haven't studied those guys too much, but yes, the concept is the same. What we do is we fractionalize the loan. So for example, okay, sometimes I get a request for a loan and it's $600,000. Well, I don't have $600,000 at that moment, but I have 35, maybe I have 25. The minimum is a $10,000 investment. But so what happens is that money is sitting idle until I can accumulate or get some of the loans back, and then I have enough money to go invest in a deal. But then I have to wait for a deal to come around, right? So there's a lot of this kind of maneuvering that's happening. So what we did is we eliminated the need for all that kind of work, like chasing and matching the loans and everything. So we fund the loans. Then we put the loan on the platform, and then at your leisure, Daniel or Jonathan or Karen or Sharon, anybody who's accredited can come in and say, oh, you know what? I got $10,000. Oh, I got $25,000. Oh, I got, somebody returned some, somebody sold something and I got, X number of dollars. Let me go to Bayflip, see what's available. And boom, on that day, you can put your money to work. So that's kind of the concept behind this fund. And it's all on bayflip.com. I pretty easy to remember, I hope. But anyway, I'm happy to, if you want to unmute yourself, if you got questions, you want to learn how to participate, or you want to borrow money for your fix and flips, reach out to me, and I will I can help you with that. Yes, Kate, we do use escrow. For sure. Everything goes through title, just like any other private money loan. The limited partnership that you are a member of would become the lien holder on that property, and you're a member of that LLC. So, so the basic idea is that only first position liens, only after title has cleared, first free and clear, insurance, all the documents have to be done properly, and we take care of all of that. So Max and I, we've been lending. I've been lending for 7+ years. He's been lending for 10+ years. Hard money, private money, conventional. That's what we do day in, day out. That most of the money that I make personally, I don't have that many apartments or rentals anymore because I've transferred just about everything to private money loans. And yes, but it's diversified. My portfolio is a little diversified, but the reason I like private money, well, it's better. It's the money that's better than what's I can make maybe in the stock market or in the checking account or in the CDs. Okay, it's meant to be better than that. The safety's there. If you want to hear about some horror stories with syndications, you can reach out to me. I just somebody to send me a project that I had invested in October 2015 with a bunch of promises. Lost a lot of money in a private money loan. Knock on wood, I'm in first position, 70% LTV. They're putting money in afterwards. I'm pretty safe. If I have to foreclose, I can live with that, but it's never happened. But that's why I like private money. I'm a conservative investor. So yeah, please reach out to me. Let me see. Thank you, Vinay. Let's do this. So Karen, my dear friend, it really varies a little bit on the LTV and the how much money the borrower is putting in the deal. But as a rule of thumb, 2 points and 10%. So just keep that in mind, Karen. I know Karen really well, so she knows my formula. Oh, Evgeny, no kidding. We should have a webinar without naming I don't mind naming the people, but he's sort of a local multifamily celebrity, and he's got so many properties where he's lost money for investors. And I get these private messages and emails about how much, and I felt for it myself. And, it's unfortunate, but, he's just a marketer and not an operator, unfortunately. But he promotes himself as an amazing investor, but he's not. And so a lot of people have lost money. Yeah, that one hurt. So anyway, we won't go into that. But private money is meant to be safe. Okay, what happens if the market drops? No problem. It can drop almost 40-50% before you get impacted, or 35% before you get impacted. And then worst case, I have to take the property back. I'm okay with that. I can go in and put in a crew and get it fixed up and sell it. If that's the worst case outcome, I'm willing to live with that. Yeah, Evgeny, we should connect, brother, and chat some more. Yeah, Johannes knows who I'm talking about. Okay, got you. I know, Johannes. Anyway, so please do reach out to me. And again, unmute yourself, ask any questions to Yakov, to myself, to each other. We've got a few minutes, and we can kind of cover any other items you may have on your mind. Let me see here. Amitesh, out of the US. I haven't done any out of the US. Not that I'm open to it. Just depends on where and what kind of deal. But I've looked at projects in Mexico and maybe Costa Rica. That's about it. But happy to explore if you reach out to me over email. Yeah. Anyway, so Jakob, any last minute thoughts?
All right. Well, I want to thank you again for having me, Bobby. This has been great. I enjoyed your presentation as well. That was very well done. Lots of things to think about. Yeah, and for people, I got a couple of messages here. So about the link. So it's linkleads.us/Bobby. I know for a couple of people it wasn't working, but it should be working for you now. And then for those of you who haven't yet, I'm checking LinkedIn. I've gotten a bunch of requests. So make sure to send me a connection request. Yakov Smarts, really easy to find on LinkedIn. And then for those of you who want to continue the conversation, look forward to doing that with you as well later this week.
Yeah. So I'll resend out the link. Sometimes I don't, Yakov, do we need to put HTTPS or anything in front of that, or linkleads.us, right? They might be typing .com.
Yeah, so yeah, and I'll drop it in there. It's linkedleads.us. It's a little tricky /Bobby, and then it redirects to a little form. So sometimes it takes a few seconds, but I mean, if you're still having trouble with the link, I think it's smooth sailing now. Just reach out to Bobby or myself. We'll make sure to get that over to you. So yeah.
Thank you, Jakob, for making the time. I know this. We had this planned. I'm so glad that people look. We all know LinkedIn's been around. We know it's the professionals network. That's where the kind of the high income earners. That's where they hang out. And that so if you go to the ocean and you're going fishing, well, this is the pond you want to be fishing in. So, and you are the expert. I've followed you for many years, and I've seen your work. So, and I'll be a client very soon. So, let's see if we can get help our members out as they work to raise capital for their deals. So, excellent. All right, folks. Anybody else? Just unmute yourself. Share if you have any questions about any stuff, any concerns about the price of lumber, if that's on your mind. I had a go Denise, unmute yourself. No, you have to. Yeah, you have to.
I said it's really expensive right now.
Oh my God. Like almost 60-70% increase in the price of lumber. So yeah, and I had somebody on Facebook post like they're selling a pack of toothpicks for like $50 because of the price of lumber. So, but all right, everybody, thank you so much. You know where to find. Hey, Karen, you got a question?
Hey, just a really quick question about the lumber. Do you foresee it going down, Bobby, anytime soon? Like it's just up so high.
No,
not
until they lift the tariffs on the Canadian lumber, and then they have to open up the mills. So what I've been hearing is they had shut down the mills because of COVID, and they have to ramp those back up, and then they have to lift the tariffs on the Canadian lumber and all that. So I think, well, and housing, people want to build. Everybody wants to build bigger homes now, and they're moving out of those tiny apartments in LA and San Francisco and Seattle and New York, and they want to go buy this 3,000 square foot home in Austin or in Nashville or wherever they are going, Chattanooga. So everybody's doing new construction, and so I don't see it slowing down.
What is another good material to use besides lumber? I know I have one of my best friends. He's an architect in France, and he uses rammed earth construction. I don't know if you guys have heard about that.
No.
It's like it's using the sediments of the actual soil and then like ramming it together to make it compact enough to be sustainable.
Yep.
But what are other materials besides lumber? Especially
I'm not an expert, but if there's anybody in this room who can speak to that, please do. You know, Daniel, I would say as long as it abides by the code, right? As long as the city allows it, you're going to be okay. But if not, then you may have some challenges with that. But, you know, I don't know if there's, but I can research it. I know I saw some discussions taking place about finding better alternatives to the current lumber situation. But okay, Janet is saying super adobe or straw bale, maybe. Did you, okay, so Daniel, super adobe or straw bale? Thank you, Janet. That's very helpful. But yeah, that's, you know, but Daniel, if you hear, if any other stuff, post it and we'll mention it next time we meet. So Karen, I don't know if that's good or bad. I know you love to do those high-end flips, and I know, but with all that money you're making, I'm sure you can afford to buy.
Oh, stop, Bobby. You're funny. Yeah, we'll figure it out. There's a will, there's a way.
Are you doing any projects right now?
No, not right now. Yeah, I'm looking for deals, but I'm not actively. We have to catch up. We have to do lunch or something.
We need to do lunch. But yeah, I know it's been a while. So, but all right. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for coming. Thanks for hanging with us. We'll do this again soon. The next event is going to be on cost segregation. That's coming up in early June. So it's going to help you with your taxes and so on. But there's going to be 2 speakers that day as well. So, but yeah, all right. With that, I'm going to let you all get back to your families and get some dinner. But thank you, Yakov. Thank you, Denise. Thanks, Karen. Thanks, Daniel, and everybody that asked questions. Hemant, thank you. Thank you, Zengrin, and we'll chat soon. Have a good night. All righty.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you,
Bye,
Denise.
everyone.
Thank you, Bobby. Good night.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.